Hi, everyone. My name is Tomo Silva. I am the CEO of ClicData. I'm also one of the power users here and business analysts that helps our support team. And I've been taking over the webinars. It's a new thing for us. It's a new webinar system. It's integrated into our website. And we're just getting started and getting to understand a little bit more how this works and how we can communicate more effectively with our customers and our prospects as well. This is our first session. We're hoping to have these sessions happening pretty much every 3 weeks or so, almost once a month. Just want to show you where you can find the upcoming topics. We added a new section to our website, the webinars under support. And in this web page, we already put some topics. Obviously, you can suggest topics and we can replace as we go along. So if there's stuff here that is not very much of interest to you, do let me know. You can actually send me an email at telmo.silva, that's telmo.silva, S-I-L-V-A, at ClicData.com. And I'll make sure that we can include those topics in the upcoming coming sessions. So our next one will be in a few weeks, a couple of weeks, October 13th. On this session here, I wanted to show you some of these things that we put out in the recent releases. Also want to show you a couple of, I guess, tricks on how you can use some of the formulas that we have to calculate simple things such as month-over-month or year-over-year ratios. Scheduling your data refreshes and dashboard publications. This was actually a suggestion from one of our customers that we should have a better way to know. So I'm going to tell you what's coming up soon on this feature here and how we internally try to manage the load of the servers in such a way that everybody gets to load their data quickly or as quickly as possible. And also wanted to talk to you a little bit about, I'll log into our dev environment. If it's up and running, I hope I can get to show you that. If not, I'll show you the design as well of another feature that's coming up, which is a quick widget sidebar properties, which is it's going to be a faster way for you to change widget properties. So without waiting that furthermore, we will go through a very basic overview of ClicData for those joining us for the first time. Again, ClicData is an online data warehouse and reporting dashboarding solution. What sets us apart from some of the other dashboarding solutions is that we also host the data, and we have a lot of data tools that allow you to transform the data, to join the data, fusion the data, and so forth. Visualizing the data, I think there's a lot of tools out there, even Excel, tools that have been in the market for a long time. We'd like to think of ourselves as the complete A to Z solution where you can not only connect to different data sets, but you can also change those data sets, transform them without affecting them, your base system, and then produce dashboards and publish them automatically. So we're also one of the very few ones that you can select your data center. We work with Microsoft, and we provide ClicData wherever Microsoft data centers exist around the world. Currently, we're out of the US and out of Europe, and we're exploring the possibility of starting a new ClicData data center within the Microsoft infrastructure, of course, in Australia as well, in Singapore and Brazil. So you can sign up and get a free account if you'd like to. I'm going to log in into my demo account, if you will. As you can see here, if you have a free account, you get the ClicData branding all over the place. But if you have your own account, oops, sorry. If you have your own account, you can brand it with your own logos. You can even have a full domain name as well with the white labeling and SSL option that we have to have your own custom domain here. Oops, I have to sign out and sign in again. There we go. I urge you to look at some of the tutorials. We have an entire help system available to you with video tutorials, with frequently asked questions, and a few other items. You can also look at some of our sample dashboards. If we have time, I'm actually going to show you something very neat that you can do with our sample dashboards to get up and running quickly, using them to bring your data into them very quickly. But there's just quite a bit of selection here in terms of the different samples of dashboards that you have that we produced either for customers, and we kind of anonymized, made them more generic, or that we came up with ourselves. So, like I said, ClicData allows you to bring your data in. We have quite a few connectors listed here. I'm not going to go through all of them. Suffice it to say that it doesn't matter if it's an Excel sitting somewhere, or Google Sheets, or whether it's a database, MySQL, SQL Server, etc. We have connectors for it. We try to enhance them and make them more powerful each time. We also try to add a connector each month based on customer requests. We just recently added the YouTube Analytics one and the Sugar CRM are two of our latest connectors that we've added in the last month. The other features that we have on the data menu is the ability to create your own data directly into ClicData. So you can create much like an Excel spreadsheet or an Access database, if you will. You can actually drag and drop different columns and build your own table. You can give column names here and enter data directly here without having to put it on an Excel spreadsheet or something, just if you want something basic, okay? The Data Fusion, which is the new feature that I would like to show you today, which was released last week, allows you to combine similar looking structures into one. So a great use case for this, and we'll get again into more detail later, but is if you have a lot of similar spreadsheets from different customers or different sales teams, and every month or every week, they all go into their Google Sheets or their Dropbox and update the latest numbers directly into those. You now have, let's say, 50 data sets, all from the different regions or the different customers, and you'd like to create a single view of that. You can create a fusion. It actually brings all that data into one data set. The Create View allows you to create an alternate view of your data. So if, for example, you have a lot of data coming in with, let's say accounts here from Sugar CRM, and you want to create a view on this that is just a certain type of account, or you want to pivot or group the accounts by a certain criteria, you can do that as well. What else we have here? We have also the merge data. The merge data is the ability to make a join. Once again, test join here. And you can, again, drag and drop different tables from different data sets and try to, if you have corresponding columns, make a join between one and the other. So again, this is your basic join feature of most databases. And finally, we're going to get into database connectors later, but you can also add specific connections that are behind your firewall. So if you have databases such as SQL Server, you can go into the data loaders and connections. That will be covered in a different webinar. I'm not going to get into that later. But the Fusion is the feature of the month, if you will. And for that, I'd like to start by again just creating a new Fusion here. And I'm going to a folder of data sets that I've prepared. So this is an example where I have sales being provided by different affiliates, Canadian affiliate, Japanese, an American, and a Russian. And I'd like to start merging them. So I drag the Canadian one, which has 633 rows there. And this is the structure of the Canadian one. And I'm going to grab the American one. And in this case, it happens to be exactly the same structure. What we do is we automatically match the names, the columns by name. But it happens sometimes that in this case, an affiliate will go in and add a new column, maybe because of language, as this is the case, in which case we have an extra column. And our Fusion says, well, I can't find this column will be ignored. We're not going to bring it into the data set because we don't have corresponding data across. And then we have the case where we have someone that actually will modify the data set substantially. So in this case, what actually happened is they were okay up to here, and then what happened is they've deleted these columns somehow. They definitely don't have the type in Japanese column that exists here, but furthermore, they've also don't have the country and region, which seem to be standard on all the other columns. But somehow they've renamed those columns, either on their Excel or on their database. They've renamed those columns to something else. So what we can do is match those. So we can say, well, we're going to, in this case, the orange ones would be ignored, but in this case, we don't want to ignore these ones. We're going to click on the little gear icon, and we're going to match to. And well, there's only 3 columns here: the country, region, and the type in Japanese is the name of the column. We want this to match the country. So now that column moved up to the same level as the country here. And I want to do the same thing with the region. I'm going to match this to the region. So now my data sets are actually the same. So at this point in time, if everything goes well, I save the Fusion, and now this can be used as a new data set. So I can just exit the editor and have a new Fusion, which of course I forgot the name, Fusion of Data. I guess that's what I called it, or New Fusion. I think that was it. And you'll see that we have data for Canada, and then if I expand here to see the remaining rows, if I scroll down enough, I'll see Japan, and somewhere along the line, I have a few other USA and so forth. Okay, so this is the full Fusion, and this is how we're now able. We're testing the limits of this Fusion. Obviously, we are having customers that are asking for 100, 200 data sets to be fusioned every week or every day. So we're slowly creating a batch version of this one, so that you don't have to specifically monitor each data set, and that the UI is also a bit more rapid. But this is a great Fusion, Fusion, not feature, not Fusion, something that I actually been waiting for a long time, and a lot of our customers have been waiting for a long time. In the meantime, I'm just going to check here the dashboard here to see if there's any active questions. I think I just have to refresh this. Like I said, this is a new system for me, and hopefully it's working out well for everybody. Okay, so there's no questions other than whether we started yet, and I have started, so good. All right, so on the calculated columns, on to the next topic of this webinar. Some of the times there's some features. There's a lot of power hidden behind some of the stuff that we have available. One of them is the calculated columns and contextual columns, which sometimes are difficult to understand. With the customers that have been using our system know that you can add calculated columns at different stages of the process. So you can add a calculated column when the data is loaded. You can add a transform column here, and you can do a calculated column and put any type of formula you want here, and it'll be based on other columns, or it'll be based on a new function that you come up with. We have a lot of formulas and very, very similar. It's actually identical to SQL. We have a help system that, as you type, for example, a formula, there's an auto suggestion that says, what you're going to type next, etc. So there's a lot of stuff you can do on the data, and that is great for formulas or for columns that you'll need in a lot of dashboards, so you don't have to repeat the work. Sometimes you want to add a calculated column just at the level of the widgets. So we're going to create a new calculated column example on your dashboard. for example, for a chart of data, or for a simple table. In fact, we'll start with a simple table because that's most of the times that's where it's commonly used. So one of the things we can do, in fact, I apologize. I'm going to go with the drill down table because then I can group data by month and year, and then you can see that the calculated columns actually adapt themselves to the different groupings that we do. So what I'm going to do is just bring some data. As always, this is my favorite data set. Firstly, I can't choose it because there's a date, but no day. So I'm going to pick something else here. Let's see, do I have cars? Do I have a date? I need a date. Okay, sorry. Should have thought of the data set before starting the webinar. So let me just check here. Okay, Penzink. Okay, so I have some sales data year by date. Perfect. Okay, so in this case, I have a country, I have a product per country, and I want the value of this product here. So there's a drill down here. Each country has their own their own specific products, and there's some sales associated with that. And one of the things that we may want to do, for example, is compare the market share between between these things. So very similar to a month-over-month calculation. In this case, it's a contextual calculation. We can also do it on basically a date. Okay, you drag the date in. In this case, it's all time, but you could do a year. So now we have a year, and you drag the date in again, and you put the month. Okay, so it's not sorted, unfortunately, so we'll need to add a sorting over here. I'm gonna do by the second date. So hopefully, oops, I may have found the first bug, and this is the problem of doing live. Oh, I did find a bug. My apologies. It works for this date. Should have renamed the columns. Okay, well, I apologize for this. It's for some reason I'm not doing this right. My bad. There goes. This is where you kind of need to prepare yourself and be ready with a quick answer. But anyways, going to continue the demo. It does not change much. I'll actually probably just do. Wondering how I did this. I'm just going to. This is the full date exactly, and if I do all time, I have all the dates. So I'm just going to go year and month and see if this works out. Still can't get it to sort it properly, but I'm going to get to it in a second. The idea of adding a calculated contextual calculated column is if we click this add calculated column at the bottom, what we'd like to do is, for example, on the year basis, is to see the growth between one year versus the other year. Obviously, the sort order is quite important. And how we do this needs to be done using the row value, the row total, and row group. Now, you noticed here on the functions, we have chart and tables here, and we'll have a few more as time goes on. But we have things that call series category, series total, series value. On the table side, we have things such as row group, row total, row value. And what these are, and you can click on the eye to get a little bit more information, is this returns the value of the current row, and you can do offsets as well in the specified column. So when I add this, it's asking me for the column header. I can actually specify, it's the price column or whatever, and I'll get the value of that column. Just to give you a quick example here, on this table, I have a column called data and a column called value. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a calculated column to my value columns, which is the same as the value, just to get started. So again, I'll go to the functions table, the row value, and I'm going to put value. That's the name of the column. I'm going to drag this into the value columns. So this is pretty simple. It's basically, I've just created a calculated column that it equals the column to the left of it. Not very complex, but what this allows us to do as well is if I wanted to, instead of this doing a percentage of the total, I could actually go into this calculated column and now divide that by, and again, I'm going to refer to the table row total or row group. In this case, I'm going to do a row group. And again, same syntax. What's the column header? So it's value. Column group header is, and you have this to help you out here a little bit. Unfortunately, I didn't name it. The date is still the same. And I'm going to, I'm going to put a sum of the row group, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm getting a percentage. I'm just going to format the numbers to make them a little bit nicer. I'm just going to the column of value and put it as a, as a currency. And I'm going to go to the value, the calculated column here, and put it as a percentage. Oops, not a date, a percentage. All right. So again, the idea is that going back to the data, that you can have contextual. This again, these are contextual because these are dependent on which row it's calculating in, and it's basically just adding the whole total and dividing that by the old total. Okay, there's a lot of other things you can do here. You can do row total for the whole. If I change this to row total, this would be the entire. Again, going through the help file here. If I switch to row total, then I don't need to specify which level I'm doing this in. I can just say, give me the whole total. So I want the percentage to be, see, this is the way it goes with demos as a row group, sorry, row total. The way it goes basically to specify, again, the contextual. In this case, I want the row total for that entire value column, and I want the sum of it. Okay, so a lot of different things. You can also do the same thing on charts, but the contextual on charts is slightly different because we don't have rows. We have series, and we have categories. So again, if we're doing something like a binding like this, where I go by country on the categories, and let's say sum of cost here on the chart, if I want to add a calculated column, the functions that I have under chart are now series category, series total, series value. Very similar to the drill down table, but in the sense you need to know what you're trying to do in terms of calculating the value. We're talking about a series specific value. We're talking about, for example, in this case, the cost of Australia. So it's this value that we're talking about. Whereas the series category would be the whole of Australia. In this case, again, we only have one category, or sorry, we have 4 items in the category. So it would be the whole total of all these 4 countries. Okay. The year-over-year calculation, I'm going to see if I can find my example now, because I prefer to, should have scripted this a bit better. I'm just going to see if I have it somewhere already ready. Calculated column example, that's not it. I do have a year-over-year somewhere. Commercial risk, oops. Sorry, just give me 1 second. I'm going to see if I can find it. I have a lot of different. Okay, I think this is it. Hopefully I still have the data. If not, I'm going to get a lot of oops somewhere. All right. So this is an example where the customer wanted to do a little bit of cohorting analysis on some of the data. So they had the date here, which we grouped on a simple table. Sorry, this is a drill down table, in fact, year and month. So this is it. And what the customer wanted to do is to have a calculated column basically showing the growth over the previous period. So the calculated column, again, just to go over it, looks a little bit more confusing because it has the is null function. And I'm going to explain this a little bit in detail. What actually happens is, again, if you remember, this is a contextual column. That means that at some point in time, it's on the very first row. In the very first row, because the customer wanted to do the previous row divided by, or sorry, the current row divided by the previous row, there is no previous row, and we didn't want to have an error in the calculation. We wanted instead just to show a 0. So this is why we check to make sure that the previous row, it has an offset of -1, exists. So we're saying, if it's null, then put a 0. But if it's not, then I want you to take the current row, so the row value exit, and divide that by the previous row, which is this row, okay? And this is how we get the percentage here growth over the previous period. Now, one thing that you also will notice is that if I just remove the grouping, things still kind of work, because basically we just have, the math is still contextual. It's still 3 rows. It's just the fact that I've just removed the month from the year, and it still works, and you could have done quarters and things like that, okay? So this is an actual practical example of month-over-month and year-over-year growth calculation using the row value and its offset. Just going to check again questions. Oh, all right. That is, yes, the question is whether this broadcast is going to be available afterwards for additional views. One of the reasons why we switched to this system is because this will be available on our YouTube channel, and there will be notifications of that to all those that attended. You'll receive an email with the link to the replay of this webinar. And I am sorry that perhaps I am talking too fast. I think maybe one of the lessons learned is that I should add less topics in each webinar. I'm trying to cover a lot of semi-advanced features, if you will, of ClicData. So we're going to discuss the scheduling of your data refreshes a little bit. I think the next topics are actually going to be quite quickly. One of the things that you notice that once you actually schedule something is that the default for the schedule typically goes top of the hour. What that means is if you say, every 1 hour, you'll start from the top of the hour until, the next hour and so forth. So what's going to happen is actually we're going to have a lot of peaks at the top of the hour, bottom of the hour, and typically, the defaults that we put in here, that's where the peaks are going to occur. So one of the tips that I'd recommend you, if you're finding that sometimes it takes more than 2 or 3 minutes for your data to load as you want it to, is to actually pick offsets and maybe start at 12:05. 5 minutes after the peak or 10 minutes after the peak. So basically the hour offset keeps, is offset by 10 minutes. So that's a small trick that I'd like you to know just to facilitate. Now, how we do load balancing and how we managed all these different data refreshes, approximately we have over a week's time, we have over 160,000 data refreshes that are happening from different customers across the globe. And we try to balance that in a variety of ways. But obviously, if a lot of people want their data at 12 o'clock every day, we try to queue them, and some of them are at the bottom of the queue, so they'll take 4 or 5 minutes longer, and they may not be exactly at midnight. So I suggest you look at this. But thanks to one of our customers, we're actually going to implement something. This is a new feature coming up here, which is an auto-suggesting feature of what best time to do it. And you'll be able to see a small chart as you click over here, and it'll outline which days of the week, which times of the day, and which days of the month are more busy or less busy, so that you can actually click on the chart and the hour will be populated. So you should pick the small valleys as opposed to the peaks. Okay, this is just something that again, it could be useful for you, especially if you have a lot of schedules like myself here on my test account. And now I'm going to try to go to one of our systems, one of our development systems, and hopefully things will work. You never know with our developers in what state they've left the system, but we're gonna give you a quick look at a new feature here. Let's go see. The screen is blurry, so we have a question. The video is blurry. That's good info. We're going to check it out. Maybe Google Hangouts is not the best way to do this. We'll try it. All right, so let me see. The quick widget sidebar properties. So for those of you that have been with us for a while, when you create a dashboard, you notice that we have different sidebars here. Now, the default one is the widget one. But some people are actually not aware that you can actually, for example, have multiple dashboards open at the same time. So you can actually have and switch between them quite quickly. So you can have basically, this dashboard, switch quickly to this one. You can copy and paste widgets from one to the other fairly easy. And these sidebars are actually becoming more and more useful to us. The widget ones, as you know as well, is where you can pick your widgets. The data is where you can actually drag and drop your data. So for example, if you have some data sets here, you can just drag and drop the data set, and ClicData is going to suggest to you as many graphs or tables as you possibly can based on the data. Obviously, not all of them are correct, but it may give you some ideas to get started quickly. So this is a quick little feature that I think is very handy. We're going to add more and more intelligence to that as well, and more features there. The common sidebar is where you can add, have your users or yourself add comments. And then in the last 30, 40 days, we've added two new ones. One is the formula. The formula is basically what we actually ended up seeing a lot of our users do is add numeric indicators, like something like that, put a formula in them. So you'd switch it to the formula, and you'd put in a formula, some weird formula. I'm just going to pick something just so you we have it here, mathematical. Maybe there's a random. Yeah, that's great. We'll just do random between 100. Okay, save. So we have a random number, 85, 36 in this case. But then they would not really use this. They would actually remove all the formatting from it and make it almost invisible. But they would use that in other widgets as kind of a staging area or like a step in the calculation. Obviously, but it makes it hard for you to select the widget if you don't see it. So we add this formulas piece, and the formulas piece you can add again a new formula the same way we did, and give it a name as well. And you can make reference to it. So it gives you a result, 9, and you can make reference to it in your widgets, in any other widget. So instead of this one, for example, you can now go to your formula, click on dashboard, there's formulas, and you have the form 1 that I just did. So you just say dashboard formula, and you give the name of the formula, and now you have a central place that you change, and all these widgets inside the dashboard will change accordingly. Okay, so that is the formula tab. That was not on the webinar plan, but I just wanted to showcase that. But really, what I'm excited about is this thing that we're going to start building out, which makes designing dashboards a lot easier as well, which is the sidebar. And again, for very old customers of ours on our i3 version, you've seen this. We used to have a sidebar with all the properties. That's how we used to access the properties. We did not have this pop-up here, but we ended up having so many properties, specifically when it comes to formatting and styling, that the pop-up really focuses your work. But it's silly to have to open the pop-up each time just to, for example, change the name of this. I don't want number indicator anymore. I just want a, ratio. And, just to change that, I wouldn't have to open the pop-up each time and change that. So now you can actually have some properties here. We're going to start putting different styles. So, for example, you can see that I can change the style of this right from here. I can, again, rename it. I can lock the position and size of this so I can't move it or resize it. I can change the different color schemes of the chart right from the sidebar. We're going to have a lot of other new features here added that are intelligent enough to understand whether you have multi-widgets selected, so that only the common properties will show here as well. So look out for this on our next release. The widget properties are coming out, and it's going to make your work a lot easier for next time. So this is it. This is what I had planned for this webinar. I hope it was informative. I know it was a bit too quick, perhaps. I will next time always have a mix of easier topics, let's say, versus more advanced topics. I will always try to also include some new features, give you insight. The next one is going to be huge for us, is the pivot table. We already have a preview of it, but it's not up to par yet, but according to our standards at least, we're going to have that. We're going to have a more advanced one next time as well on the API and using our API, using PHP, but you can use any language you want. This is the dashboard level formulas. I actually just went through that topic today, so I probably will skim through it next time, or skip very quickly through it. I'm going to showcase our new Sugar CRM Online Connector that's been live for a week or so, or two. And again, always a small introduction. Again, if there's a topic that you'd like me to cover in more detail, I'd be happy to do it. Just send me an email. And again, you'll be able to get this webinar on replay once it's over. And with that, I wish you everyone a good morning or a good afternoon, wherever you are, and keep dashboarding. Take care.